What's up, everybody? Welcome back. NFL Week 12. That's right. We're back at it for the 12th time, but we have Matt Brown back after his bye week.
Well, you can find me, Matt Brown, at the Ohana Jones.
And of course, you can find me on all social media accounts and platforms at Brandon J. McDermott.
And I'm Matt, and you can check all of them out if you want on Beard Laws on Thursday. And that's the first time you're ever going to hear me say I'm excited for football on Thursday, because we get 3 games, a tradition. You're always pretty much always going to see the Lions and the Cowboys. This is when I'm going to want to eat. I'm not super excited about this game, but you have the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions, 12:30 kickoff. The Lions are currently an underdog of 3.5 points.
Both teams suffered losses last weekend, and both teams could be without their starting quarterbacks for this Turkey Day showdown. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for Detroit to be missing their starting quarterback. Detroit's been better than Chicago the last few games, at least when it comes to being against the spread. I am taking Detroit. I know I've taken them the last few weeks, but I'm taking them here in front of America to win this one against their division rival, Chicago Bears.
This would have been the one that I've been looking at for the Lions to win with or without Jared Goff, who I know people don't like anyway. I still think the Lions can do this. Doesn't matter who's starting for Chicago. Doesn't matter if Tim Boyle didn't impress on Sunday. This year has been crazy, and I think crazy Thanksgiving games could turn the tide for the Lions.
The Lions have a career record of 37-42-2 on Thanksgiving, so I like them to cover it. I don't really care at this point if they win or lose, but I like them to cover it. They're getting some points right now, and Andy Dalton is potentially going to be the quarterback for the Bears, and Andy Dalton is terrible, and Brandon said nobody likes Jared Goff. Jared Goff, if you're watching, I like you. Let's be friends. You can come over to my Thanksgiving. You have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Dallas Cowboys, 4:30 Eastern time for the kickoff, and the Cowboys are a 7-point favorite at home.
There's no Thanksgiving Day quite like watching the Lions play, but I'll also say this. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I love watching the Cowboys play in Dallas when it comes to Thanksgiving Day. Both these teams, the Raiders and the Cowboys, are coming off very Raider and Cowboy-like losses last week. I don't think that Dallas is as bad as they showed, though. In fact, I think it's a good time for them to have a reminder, especially in the regular season, to themselves and to all of us that they're immortal, even though we all knew that. In Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, I'm taking the Cowboys to win and to cover.
Dallas looks like they could be without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, which means it'll be up to Ezekiel Elliott to dominate on Thanksgiving like he's done before. I think the Raiders have unraveled enough as a team due to everything they've been through to not be able to recover in time for Thursday. So I also like the Cowboys in this one.
The Cowboys are 30-21-1 all-time on Thanksgiving. That's good enough for me. I like the Cowboys to cover here. We're off to 2 unanimous picks pretty much to start this episode. So let's keep going and see if we continue to agree. You have the Buffalo Bills after a terrible performance last week, heading to New Orleans. Currently, the Bills are a 4.5-point favorite on the road.
There's something about this game on a Thanksgiving Day that I just wish it were in Buffalo. But alas, it's in New Orleans. Both of these teams are fairly good following a loss against the spread, but I'm taking the Bills to cover and to win after getting their lunches stolen last week against the Colts.
This is tough to predict, though. If you asked me earlier in the season, I would have thought you're crazy to think the Saints even have a chance in this one. So I'm going to go off that thought process still here. The Bills have been good on the road, too. 7-3 against the spread in away games. I think Buffalo can win big in this one.
Something still tells me that Buffalo is one of the best teams in the NFL. They've had some bad losses, but they've generally recovered with some good play. I really do like the spread where it's at right now. Maybe if it drops down a point, maybe a half a point, I'd love it more. But I like the Bills here on the road to get back on track and cover that spread and get that win. We got through Thanksgiving. Let's get into Sunday. Let's talk some Sunday football. To kick it off, let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers at Cincinnati, a little AFC North rivalry game. The spread currently has the Cincinnati at home as the favorite by 3.5 points.
And the Bengals topped the Raiders. The Chargers beat the Steelers last week. If I were looking at the stats alone and the records alone, I would probably take Cincinnati to win and to cover. But looking at how Cincinnati plays against the spread, I'm taking the Steelers and the points here.
You mentioned it. This game is a big one too, guys, as whoever wins gets a good position into the playoff race. I think it'll be really close as the Bengals have been 1-5 against the spread after a straight up win. So I think Pittsburgh can keep it to a field goal or really just win.
Traveling to Cincy is no easy task. My gut tells me I like Cincinnati at home with 3.5. I think they're a better team right now. I think Joe Burrows is playing lights out. So I'm going to take Cincy at home. All right, then we got Tampa Bay traveling to take on the Indianapolis Colts. Tampa Bay is a 2.5 point favorite currently. on the road.
Tell me in the offseason that you were looking at the schedule and that you would have said to yourself, this Colts-Bucks matchup was going to be a good one. Nobody would have believed you. I certainly wouldn't. But the Colts have proven to be a decent team, coming off a big win and a blowout of the Buffalo Bills last week. Meanwhile, the Bucks, they simply don't look like the reigning Super Bowl champions. This is going to be a close matchup. I don't see the Bucks covering. I don't see them losing and not covering behind a very determined Tom Brady here.
Indianapolis has put everybody on alert after their great performance against the Bills. I just think they're actually just a good football team. Also, Tampa Bay hasn't given bettors a win in their last 5 road games, and I don't think it happens here. I think Indy might be upset city for the second week in a row.
I think Tampa Bay's too good, and I think a lot of bettors, they have that 1 week memory, but I like Tampa Bay here. I think the spread is going to change. Carolina, they're traveling to Miami. Carolina on the road with Cam Newton. A little bit of life. 2-point favorite on the road.
The Dolphins, they're 11-4, that is, in the last 15 home games against the spread. This is a game I'm very nervous about, and one I don't really want to take because both of these teams, while not world beaters, have showed they can play a scrappy game. But if I was pressed, I would take the Panthers to cover.
I agree with everything you just said, Brandon, except I will lean towards Miami here. I don't really have much of a great reason other than the Dolphins, like you said, are 11-4 in the last 15 in Miami. I do think Tua Tagovailoa also just plays better in Miami, and I'll give you this too. Miami weather is a lot more like Hawaii weather, which is where Tua's from, so I still will lean towards Miami.
I think Carolina is going to take this here. I like them right now at 2. I could even potentially see this dropping to a pick'em or a 1-point spread. Cam Newton gets another week of practice. I mean, Cam only threw for 189 yards, a pick, and I think he had a touchdown. They're going to be run heavy, but maybe the Dolphins predict the run, and Cam can really start to air it out and see what he has. Tennessee Titans, they travel to New England to take on the Patriots, and the Patriots at home are a 5.5-point favorite.
It's a matchup with the current number 1 seed in the AFC, the Titans, versus the number 3 seed in the AFC, the Patriots. Those are current seeds right now. That's going to go up and down before the end of the year. Remember when everybody was making fun of Bill Belichick early this year because the Bucks were lighting up the scoreboard and the Pats were struggling? They're not doing that so much anymore, are they? A great matchup here that I would take the Titans in points if this were played on a neutral field, but it's not. It's in New England, so I'm taking the Pats to cover.
Look, I would have never have guessed at the start of the year that this matchup would be between 2 of the top records in the AFC, but here we are. I still think that Tennessee has thrived off of turnovers and a little luck, and that's just not the Patriot way, who are also 5-0, 4 bettors in the last 5 weeks, and 4-0 is the favorite, so I like New England in this one.
New England's 2-4 at home this year, and I'm going to go with Tennessee here. I think that they can keep this close, all right? It's 5.5 points right now. I believe it was earlier at 2.5, so that's showing a little bit of a movement towards New England, but I think Tennessee still has a lot of weapons, and they're getting a little bit better each week. Now that their star is out there adjusting, I like Tennessee to cover the spread here. All right, let's talk NFC East. All right, Philadelphia is heading to New Jersey to take on the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium, and the Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite on the road.
This is the NFC East matchup that nobody cares about. Hell, last I heard, the Giants fans are probably going to likely spend the weekend catching up on the honey-do list instead of watching their team play against the Eagles. But this, I suppose, could end up being a good matchup, a pretty good one. The Eagles are fairly good against the spread over the past few games, so I'm going to take them here to win against our favorite team from New Jersey.
The Eagles have also been really inconsistent, and what I mean by this, 7 games this year for Philadelphia have been decided by 10 points or more, and they're 3-4 in those games. So the best thing about that is you don't have to worry about the spread as much, just whether they'll win. And I think they will win in this one, make that double-digit point difference record, and even 4-4 for the Eagles.
I'd rather watch the parade, the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving, than this game all day. Eagles, not a big fan, being a Pittsburgh guy, understandably, and the New York Giants are just the Giants, but they could get their stud running back, which could make a huge difference in that offense. But with that being said, I still like the Eagles here to win and cover that 3.5-point spread. I think if that spread went to 5.5, I'd still take the Eagles, but hey, that's just me. Speaking of games that not a lot of people, I don't think, really want to watch, this next game, the Atlanta Falcons travel take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is a 1-point spread with Atlanta as the road dog favorites.
On paper, Atlanta has done much better against the spread, and the Jaguars have done terribly against the spread over the past 6 games. But sometimes you just got to trust your gut. Like on Thanksgiving Day, when you're looking at that cranberry sauce that your Aunt Becky had brought, the one that she puts the walnuts in. Your gut tells you to stay clear. Well, my gut is telling me to take the Jags, so that's what I'm doing. Pass the stuffing.
This one should be the Falcons all the way. I think they should be favored by at least a field goal, but if they're not by the time you watch this, jump on this one, I think, because I think they're just more talented, and they've performed against bad teams as well. 5-1 against the spread while on the road facing teams with a losing record. So I'm going to go with Atlanta here.
And Becky, you're the real MVP, and there's no MVPs coming out of this game from either team. And if I'm going to trust my gut, let's keep it short and sweet. Atlanta Falcons, because birds, Falcons, Thanksgiving, that's what I'm going with. Nobody's going to eat a Jaguar for Thanksgiving. The New York Jets, who are going to travel to Houston, who's coming off a win that nobody saw coming, and now they are a favorite. 2.5-point home favorite against the Jets.
The matchup of two very terrible teams. One of these teams has to win, right? I mean, we saw one tie so far this year. We could see another one. We were making fun of the Titans, the Texans, that is, this entire year for some of the spreads that we've seen that they've experienced against opposing NFL teams. But they've played tough of late, and they're 4-1 in the last 5 home games against the spread. So I'm taking the Texans to cover. I can't believe I just said that.
Wow.
I mean, my answer for this one is just no. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to have anything to do with this. I will just agree with Brandon here. And Matt, what do you think?
Well, I said it last week that Tyrod Taylor, when healthy, is a game changer for a team. They looked good, and they got a win versus a great team with him back. I think they keep it rolling because mostly I don't want to see Joe Flacco win. It's been a lot of years in the Ravens, and I was rooting against them, so why not just root against them? I like Houston to cover that 2.5-point spread at home. All right, let's talk about the next game that Brandon wants to watch. The Chargers coming off a pretty exciting game. They scored more points than most college basketball teams in Division III. They're taking on a rested Denver team up in the mountains. Denver is a 3-point underdog at home.
You know, you're right, Matt. I do want to watch this game, but not probably for the reason you think. Denver at home historically is a matchup I would always take the Broncos in. But this is 2021, and the Broncos, they don't have a realistically functioning, capable quarterback. Meanwhile, the Chargers, well, they've got Justin Herbert. And watching him and thinking about him right now just gives me the flutters. I'm taking the Chargers to cover easily. By the way, I've got him on my fantasy team.
Well, this is an interesting one with the Chargers coming off of that great performance, but we've kind of seen them disappoint before when we're expecting big things, and we've already seen that even without Von Miller. As you know, Brandon, this Bronco defense can be the perfect one to stymie a hot offense. I just have a feeling here, and a good feeling for Denver. I like Brandon's Broncos here.
Matt missed last week. He missed last week on a bye week, and now he's in here just trying to flutter him up because Brandon's got the flutters. He's trying to flutter them up. I don't know what I'm saying. Chargers. They're a much better team. No offense. Chargers are fantastic. Their quarterback is unreal. Yeah, I'm going Chargers. -3. This next game. Super intrigued. Green Bay off that surprising loss. You got the Rams traveling to Lambeau Field. Green Bay is a 1-point favorite at home.
The Packers are coming off a heartbreaking loss against their rival Vikings. And I think I finally figured out the Rams. They're just not as good as their roster says it should be. I'm taking the Packers team that is looking to make up for last week. And I think they're going to cover here easily at home.
Really great matchup here, that's for sure. But I just can't see the Rams losing a third straight game. Coming off a bye and having time to incorporate Odell Beckham Jr. into their offense, I think they'll give the Packers looks that they won't be seeing on tape beforehand, and that will give the Rams the edge in this one.
Green Bay is too good to lose 2 in a row. To put that into perspective, we talked about it last week how they were one of the best teams in NFL, especially betting wise. I like Green Bay, especially with a 1-point at home. All right, next game with the Minnesota Vikings coming off that big win versus Green Bay, taking on the San Francisco 49ers. They are a home favorite, -3.
Vikings coming off that big win. The Niners, they've got some people predicting they're going to be in the Super Bowl, but they haven't been great against the spread this year. Meanwhile, the Vikings have been. With as surprising as the NFL has been this year, I'm going to take the Vikings to win.
No matter what you think about Kirk Cousins-led Vikings, they can step up when they need to. They've been 4-0 for bettors in their last 4 road games, while the Niners have been 3-10 in their last 13 as a favorite. And I guess all I have to say is skull with that for this one.
Oh, nice. He beat me to it. Skull. But I'm going with it just because of the numbers. I'm going with the numbers here. Those numbers are too good to not go for Minnesota, and it's just fun to say skull. If you want, pause the video right now and do it all with us, or just continue to do it for the next 3 seconds. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Sunday night, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is a 4-point favorite, at home.
Keep an eye on Lamar Jackson and the status of him here, injury-wise, coming into this game. That's going to push this line one way or the other. The Browns are coming off a very close win against the Lions, and the Ravens, they've historically done well against the spread against teams in their own division. I'm taking the Ravens to cover here.
I'm going to say it. Even if Tyler Huntley starts for Baltimore, they can beat the Browns by a touchdown. There, I said it. Not much more proof than how Cleveland lost to New England by almost 40 and then bounced back by only beating the Lions by 3. I just don't think the Browns have it in them, despite what the record may show. I like the Ravens here by a lot.
Just because I want one of us to be right, I'm going Cleveland. Division game, you never know what happens. And as we've seen in the NFL, anybody can beat anybody on any given week unless you're the Lions. You can tie Cleveland, though. I think they are a good football team. I think they are good enough to keep it within 4. That way, one of us is right. All right, let's talk about Monday night. You have Seattle Seahawks traveling to take on the Washington football team with a 1-point spread, and Washington is a 1-point home favorite.
Another yawner of a game on Monday night. Now, hear me out. This is probably going to be a decent game, but neither of these teams are making me excited. Seattle doesn't seem to be the same team with Russell Wilson back, and the Washington football team, they're just not good. It's a matchup of 2 losing teams, and this year, both of those teams have not fared well against the spread against other losing teams. So somebody has to break that spell. I think it's going to be Washington. I think they'll do just that this week. So I'm taking them to win.
Look, I definitely agree that this could be entertaining. I think this is the one that Russell Wilson shows us that he's really back. I know it can take a few weeks, especially when you haven't missed a game in so long, though it could be entertaining. I think the Seahawks can do just enough to edge Washington here.
I have no idea. This would be a game that I would stay away, not only because it's prime time, because it's 2 teams that are Seattle and Washington. But if I have to pick, I'm going to go with the home team, all right? Washington is playing good, and we talked about at the beginning of the year, Washington was supposed to have one of the best defenses in the league. I think that they show their defense isn't the best in the league, but one of the best in Week 12. I like Washington. As you know, this is the time of the episode where we give you the locks of the week. 3 picks from each of us that we truly do love, and 1 unanimous lock of the week. Brandon, kick it off.
I'm taking Dallas to cover against the Raiders. I'm taking the Patriots to cover against the Titans. And here's a surprising one. Last week I said the Lions. I'm not going with the Lions this week. I'm going with the Jaguars against the Falcons.
Brandon, I wasn't here last week, so I will say the Lions will take over against the Bears. And I will also say that the Cowboys will beat the Raiders and cover. And also I think the Ravens just have it against the Browns.
I'm going Thanksgiving mode, all right? I like Detroit, and they're 3.5, so I'm going Detroit plus 3.5. Dallas, -7. And Philly, they're a bird, and I'm not a big fan of Philly, so cook those birds. Not Eagles, but the birds. I like them, 3.5. And our unanimous pick of the week, the one pick that all of us say this is the one, Dallas, -7. So I personally, and I'm pretty sure these guys do as well, want to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. So I'm Matt with Beard Laws. You could feel free to check me out on all the social medias if you'd like.
I'm Brandon J. McDermott. Find me all over social media at Brandon J. McDermott. And make sure if your parents or your family's serving canned cranberry sauce, you tell them to do better. You deserve homemade cranberry sauce.
And I'm at the Johanna Jones on social media. And I agree with the other 2, especially with the cranberry sauce. And have a great Thanksgiving.
Have a great week 12. We'll be back for lucky week 13. Take care, everybody.